Okay.
James, we're ready.
All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is James Lim Overton, and I'm one of the hosts of Portsmouth Coffee Talks Evening Edition. And I'm here with a very capable co-host, Leah Drake Stitt and Thomas the Colonel Chapman. Well, not good morning, good evening.
Good
We do the
evening.
morning show as well, and sometimes we get a little confused. But good evening, co-host. How you
Good
doing?
evening.
All right. Yes.
Yes, so glad to be here. And we have a special guest. Before I like to mention this about the Lady Greyhounds. We need to support them. And if you're wondering why I always mention about the Lady Greyhounds, and I support the boys as well, but the ladies don't get the attention that the boys get. So I always, and they have been dominating, this early part of the season. And as time goes on, the competition is going to get a little more challenging. So that's when we really need to support them. So they're at home, I believe, tomorrow night. I'll have to come back with the team that they're playing. But anyway, we need to support them in more ways than one, in our presence. And also they need water and Gatorade. So make sure we follow up on that. I just wanted to give a shout out to the Lady Greyhounds and the games and the victories they have been having. So support them. But anyway, we have a special guest with us this evening, an ultimate interviewer, and we're going to turn the tables on her and interview her. And let me drop the word interview and say we're going to have a discussion. We're going to have a conversation.
Yes.
So I think it'll run a little smoother than that. We don't want to put her on the spot. We're going to interview you, and you better be, so we're gonna turn the tables and she's Cheryl Wilkerson, and she is a grad of Norfolk State University's mass communication. And how nice it is to have two other fellow grads from Norfolk State University here. And one thing I have to ask, and Cheryl is from Richmond. How did she ride past Virginia Union and end up at Norfolk State? But you know what? I'll take that back real quick because I rode past Norfolk State to go to Virginia Union. So we're even, Cheryl. We're even. But anyway, she's here.
So much for having me. That is too funny.
How about that? But anyway, she's a part of WNSB Hot 91, the soul of Virginia. And she'll talk more about what she does there. But first, we're going to have the Colonel to do his disclaimer. And then, Leah, will you please lead off the conversation with our special guest?
I would be most happy to.
Yes, before we get started, I give the disclaimer. And so all the opinions and spoken word are of the host and the guest and no one else. So hopefully we can stay out of Facebook jail. And so, Leah?
Yes, indeed. Let's keep us out of Facebook jail, please, because I need my Facebook page. It's my lifeline. It's my lifeline. Cheryl Wilkerson, I am so honored to have you here on Portsmouth Coffee Talk on the day. I've listened to you for years. I've read your work. I rush into my car at 6 o'clock when you come on with Cherie, Top 3 with Cherie on the William Moore Jr. show. Just to hear what you're going to say, what you're going to commentate on for the day. And I am just excited to have you here today and for you to share information with our audience. Do we have a top 3 for today?
No, we don't have a top 3.
No top 3 for today.
No,
Well,
no.
we're honored to have you here today on the on Portsmouth Coffee Talk.
Thanks for having me.
And so tell us, as James said, how did you end up at Norfolk State and why? I know why, but how?
Well, because when I wanted to study mass comm, Virginia State, I looked into them, but they didn't have a mass comm department back in the day, without telling my age. So I would have had to have a concentration in English. So I just had to keep on going down 64 until I found my mass comm degree. And I found that at Norfolk State. I couldn't go to Union because that meant I would have to stay home.
Okay.
And plus, my mother had gone to Union. So I would never hear the end of that, right? So I just made my own path at Norfolk State.
So you made your path to Norfolk State and you ended up in the best place in the world in the mass communications department. And look at where you are today, Hot 90, Hot 91. How long have you been on air?
I have been on air forever, just forever at Hot 91 since 2019, but it seems like forever because like I said earlier, I'm old, so I've been up there.
And listen, I must do a disclaimer now. I made a mistake. Pulled you in with Willie Moore Jr.
You are fine.
I
We're good.
apologize. Well, we're
We're
going to
good.
claim it, and you're going to be on the Willie Moore Jr. show as
Okay,
well,
okay,
giving
I
your
like
top
that.
3 as well. Okay. So really, I'm just so honored, and we've listened to you. We've listened. You've done some major interviews for some major people, and you said that your passion is to put the message out there for the people so that they can hear and to learn what is going on in the community, and so that they will be aware. And it's important that the Black community is aware and to hear our voices, because so often we get our news from others who see it through their lens.
Right.
So I'm thankful that we have you to share with us through your lens what's happening in our community. And for that, I'm grateful. And share with us some of the people you've had on your show.
Well, on the morning show, that comes on Monday through Friday. So we do a lot of talks with a lot of people in the community, which is really cool. A lot of times we'll get some national people, like we had Booker Madison on recently, and he is a Norfolk State grad. He had holiday movies that were airing on BET, but most of the time on Hot 91, we have local people, especially people that are doing things like nonprofits. We had Nikki, I can't think of Nikki's last name, but she was recently talking about the Virginia Symphony Orchestra. So happy to say they have hired Dr. Andrea Warren as their new executive director, probably one of the few Blacks to hold such a position nationwide. Of course, her daughter is Adrienne Warren. We know her from The Woman King. We know her from Tina Turner winning that Tony for that. We know her father from being the pastor of Hood Chapel. So we have people on like that, people that are out here in the community doing good things. On the other side of it, on my talk show that airs on Sundays, a lot of times we have community people on. We might have national figures on. We talk to Victoria Edie. She's the master blender for Uncle Nearest.
Right.
And her story is incredible. Kwame Kilpatrick, you know, he's now turned his life over to the Lord. He's a pastor doing things. So we just mix it up. People that are out here doing things. It is my passion that people should have information. I don't care whether it's a food drive that's going on down the street or whether it's about voter registration. I just want people to have the information so they can go out and act.
And say if we have a group out there who would like to get their information out there to the community, how would they get in touch with you so that they can get onto your show and share that information as well?
Okay, so my email address is cwwilkerson@nsu.edu. Just drop me a line, and that's how a lot of people, you're right, that's exactly how a lot of people contact me and end up on the show. So yeah, I welcome those emails anytime.
Yeah, and I'd like to say one of the guests was Mayor of Portsmouth, Shannon Glover.
Yes.
You
had it right.
And a very good conversation, and I was glad to hear it, and was all about positive things going on in the city of Portsmouth. So often, most of the news, and is negative about Portsmouth, and to have him on, who is also a Norfolk State grad, to talk about, I think it was around the time when Missy Elliott got all her accolades in the city of Portsmouth. So it was good to hear something positive. We have to tell the other stories too, but sometimes we have to let people know about the good things.
And he is such a positive person. He really
is.
Yeah,
he is. He really is.
I just wanted to mention that. Colonel, go ahead and.
Well, you know what, and I have an interest in Black media, and like everybody else on the show. And when I talk about Black media and how people consume and get their messages and information that's put out there in the ether sphere, and I look at some of the problems with media itself, especially when I look at the #1 media source in this country, what I call better known as state-run TV during the Trump administration, or Fox News.
Yes.
you could see the difference in the spin that they put. Everything negative comes out of their mouth, and all the racial overtones from that media outlet. And so it actually poisons people's minds.
It does.
Almost 50% of America who watches that show or that media gets poisoned. And now that we look at Twitter, who is now going down the toilet under Elon Musk and his takeover, and you look at the percentages of the of hate speech and anti-Semitism and racism and everything that has been boiling up from what I call the Confederates across the country, it has been allowed to boil up and been spilled out in plain view. And I fear for our democracy. We have like on Tuesday when Warnock was won his election, and we said that is a great thing for the state of Georgia. But we also look at, and I look at it on the other side, 1.5 million or whatever, how many million people voted against him.
Correct.
To try to put in somebody that is no more qualified to be a senator or any elected office in this country, and just to vote because of party, it tells me something is wrong with our society. That race should have been a 50-point blowout, at least.
At least.
In normal times. But he stood in there and lost by only 100,000 people. And so it gives me great, peace that Warnock won, but it fears me that so many people, especially down in the heart of the Confederacy, down there in Georgia, they say this turning, but you've got half of the almost, or 48% of the population down there supported somebody like that. And so what say you?
That's the same thing that really happened with the last presidential election. I mean, think about how many votes that Donald Trump received.
That's right.
But we have got to make sure that we do our part. I think we need to be aware of things like that. And I think we need to have people that are in place that are going to always bring it to our attention. But I don't think we have to fear it. I think we just have to be about our business. We need to be strategic. Far-right Republicans, they are very strategic.
Very much so.
I don't know if the Democratic Party is that strategic. The Republican Party for years has been putting out uniform talking points to every major news outlet that they can go to every day. They've been doing it for years. This is what you talk about on your show today, Sean Hannity. This is what you talk about, and they're all on the same page. I think the Democratic Party needs to get stronger in that regard.
Well, you know what, and I'll follow up with that. The Democratic Party also tries to play fair.
Yes, and it's not working. Yeah.
And you have to, you cannot fight fair with crooks and mafia bosses across this country. The people especially with people who do not care about America, and they will say, and it's legal now because of the First Amendment, you can say anything you do, and then you have to spend all this capital and time disproving something that's outlandish. Goes back to Hillary Clinton and say Pizzagate, and so on and so forth. And they talked about Warnock. Saying his church was going to evict people during the pandemic, even though the news says nobody got evicted. They got notices to pay their rent, but nobody was kicked out. But they twisted it to say
they're very strategic about it.
Yes, very strategic, and it's hard to fight an untruth, and actually, I'm using the word untruth. It's hard to fight a lie.
A lot. Just call it what it is.
Go down that same road. If you, mine is, if you come at me one time, I'm going nuclear the second time. I'm coming back here on nuclear, and then you throw it at them.
And you know, a lot of people will say that is what former President Barack Obama didn't realize when he first went into office. He thought he could play fair.
Exactly.
And he soon realized he could not play fair, because anytime they're not even going to allow you to nominate somebody for the Supreme Court, he found out, oh no, this is not fair. And you're right, you have to go in there and you have to be tough and strong and strategic, and you cannot back down. I mean, you just can't. And I don't understand why the Democrats don't. Why haven't they received that message?
Well, they apparently truly have not received it, because they're retreating once again. When you look at this group that's taking over the Congress now, and all the things that they're talking about doing, and Democrats have to be prepared to meet them head on, to make sure that they cannot do the things that they are talking about, impeaching Biden. I mean, on what charge?
Doing away with the Constitution.
Doing away with the Constitution. Letting that crazy woman, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's getting a leadership spot within the Congress, you know, and the Democrats, this is their time. They can band together and they can make a difference as to who becomes the Speaker of the House.
Right.
If they plan strategically, they can change and they can be a part of the decision-making group to decide who becomes the Speaker of the House. So we have some work to do. Let me just ask a question. Have you had an opportunity to read Caroline Randall Williams' piece that she wrote on Herschel Walker? If you get a chance, go to the Atlantic Journal and see it, because she wrote an amazing piece on Walker, and how Walker's candidacy is a fundamental assault by the Republican Party on the dignity of Black Americans.
Yes,
it is a beautiful piece, and it's a must read by anyone who's out there. And I know you say you are an avid researcher, and that you do what you have to do in order to get the information that you need in order to make your public aware of what's going on. And you're not slanting or making it work for you. You're giving them the facts as the facts are presented. And that's what's important.
That's the way we were taught in journalism school. I often tell the students that come through there now, I don't think they realize it, but back in the day, the news anchors of ABC, NBC, CBS, they wouldn't even vote. They would not even vote in elections because they didn't want any signs of impropriety. That's how hard people tried to be fair and balanced. And it seems as though all of that has gone by the wayside, even though people will tell you they're fair and balanced. It's not necessarily true at all. It's people's opinions.
Opinions, exactly.
Yeah. It's a different world out here. I want to switch us a little bit. Leah and I went to Hampton Roads Black Media Professionals 40th anniversary lunch, and we saw Grady James there. And you know, I hadn't seen Grady James since my college days back at all the CIAA tournaments. And people, you know, it's important to know the history, even the history of radio and Black media. He had a TV show, and you had people come out of Norfolk State's journalism, mass communication, Regina Mobley, yourself, and were doing things back there. One time you had TV experience. Yes. And a lot of things were happening back then. So we see things happening now and they say, oh, this is great, this is new. It is great, but know your history. There were people back there that were pioneers doing things back there when it was really difficult. So how much of that, you know, as far as with the radio station, and you have the mass communication students, and I don't know how much they're involved with the station. I don't know if it's a requirement of them or voluntarily, but how much is that involved as far as the mass communications? It's making sure they know the history, because it's hard to go forward if you don't know the history of anything that you're involved in.
That's true. They come through as interns, and it's up to them. So we'll have they might be media production majors. Nobody really comes through as a radio major, you know, mass media productions, things like that. But they come through. We teach them the history. we are very fortunate. You talked about Dr. Grady James always walking around with that camera
The
around
camera.
But the thing about it is we have a total history written by Dr. Stanley Tickton. Dr. Tickton was there when I got on the campus of Norfolk State University. That man is a living gem. Now, let me tell you, when I got on the campus of Norfolk State University, the first thing you hear on the yard is, mass comm? Oh, you got to go through Dr. Tickton. Well, my brain doesn't work like that. My brain is like, well, he might be tough, but there are people that have gone through his class and they've gotten out of his class, so it can't be that bad. Oh my goodness gracious. He taught broadcast law. He was the only one on campus that taught the course. You had to have the course. I remember one Friday, I don't know what happened in class. I would have the class at 11 o'clock. It was 11 o'clock Friday. All I know was I left class early. I was about in tears. I went, my mother was a teacher. My father was a letter carrier. I went and called my grandmother and I said, please have my parents meet me at the bus station tonight because Dr. Tickton had wore me out. But you know what? He is a genius. When it comes to anything legal, he knows it. He knows the history of that school. He might get a phone call from, he can be sitting at dinner and he gets a phone call from Bob Iger. I'm not kidding you all. The head of Disney, that, well, he just came back to Disney.
Yeah.
Because everybody loves and respects and knows that that man knows what he's talking about. So he's a gem around there. He's teaching just graduate courses now, but he's here, he's there for us. And then our general manager at the radio station, Maynard Scales, he wants to do things like name the different studios after the professors that have been there. So these students are going to know their history and they're going to know. And I told them, they're going to get this because they're not going to go out in the world and say Norfolk State didn't train us correctly or whatever, because they're not going to drag my name down. So yes, we stand on the shoulders and we're letting them know about those shoulders that we stand on.
Well, Cheryl, you know, you came out of Norfolk State and kind of went immediately into the media area. And, you know, there was a life where you have to establish yourself outside of Norfolk State in the media world. What were some of the challenges that you faced during the time you came out?
Then compared to now, it's totally different. I was very blessed because I was on the radio station at Norfolk State. Another station in the market heard me and they called me for a job. So I did overnights and I worked at WNSB as well. But today that is totally different because so many jobs have gone by the wayside. So many of the students come in and say, oh, I want to be on air, but those on air jobs, they have diminished greatly.
Yeah.
So you think about it like this. And it started with Tom Joyner, Steve Harvey, Ricky Smiley, Yolanda Adams. The list goes on and on and on. It used to be back in the day that every market would have 3 people in the studio, and you might have 2 or 3 stations, black stations. All that has gone by the wayside. When a Steve Harvey comes through or when a Tom Joyner came through, he would take those 3 jobs, take times that 100 times in the market, 100 different markets. Think about all the jobs that were lost. These people were not trained in radio. So I have a friend and she's done extensive producing of radio, black radio. And I'll never forget, she called me about, it was about 3 years ago. She says to me, Cheryl Wilkerson, I am in the studio right now. It is 6 people behind a microphone and none of them have been in journalism school. None of them know anything about the FCC, but they have taken these jobs because it puts them in the spotlight until they can do what they want to do. So until the next big movie comes up that they really want to be in, they've taken these journalism jobs. So it's eased out the people that truly have gone to school. My parents paid good money for me to learn how to do this. But it has eased all people like that out of the way. And it's very hard today to get into a situation where you're on air. It really is.
Yeah, and Colonel, one question, one statement I have to make, and we talk about that a lot, and the respect we have for the people who have trained in journalism, and we just have this opportunity on social media to do what we do, but we do not claim to be journalists. And I've seen some people
Not at all.
claim to be journalists that haven't gone through the process. They just pick up a mic and say, "I'm a journalist," and
But you all are more professional than some of those people that are, seriously on these syndicated morning shows.
Yeah, we try to pay attention, but we try to give the respect and homage to the people who have trained in it and have paid the dues to be in there. And we have the utmost respect for yourself and other people in the field, especially Black journalists
Yeah.
and media professionals that we have in this area and throughout the country. So,
Well, I
have to-
always tell people when social media is good and it's bad.
Mhm.
And a lot of lies get told over social media.
Mhm.
And some of the people that want to be the first, that's the problem. People want to be the first without doing the homework,
Mhm.
but you just look at them and say, would you go to Ukraine to cover the Ukrainian war? They wouldn't go there.
Mhm.
So, the journalism part isn't really in them. They just want to be the first to report
Mhm.
something. Like the Brittany Griner thing today.
Yeah.
Like the Deion Sanders thing, people just putting things out there and they don't even have the facts. They were reporting that he had gone to Colorado before it was official that he was going to Colorado.
Exactly.
They did the same thing with Tom Brady. It's being reported he's going to retire. He didn't retire until like 4 or 5 days later.
Mhm.
Details matter, words matter.
Mhm.
And I just wish people would just take a pause, let me get the details and then put it out there.
Indeed.
Well, Cheryl, with so many people going to social media in order to host these podcasts and these shows, what do you see the fate of Black media? I mean, because journalism, a lot of the papers and all and books that we used to read, they've gone by the wayside. Many of the radio stations and shows that we have been a part of our lives, many of them have gone by the wayside. What do you see as the future of Blacks in media, the print media, as well as the radio market? We know we have them in on the TV market, but what's happening with radio and print journalism?
Well, it used to be that the FCC had rules that you could only own a certain amount of radio or newspapers in a market or television stations. Those rules have gone by the wayside. So that's why you see the conglomerates that own 3 or 4 radio stations in a market, own all the newspapers in the market. They've let people go. They've combined everything. But I don't think that, I think it's like AM radio. When FM came along, everybody said, oh, AM radio is going to die. You're not going to have it. Talk radio is on AM radio and it's #1. It has not died.
Oh.
And I don't think that Black radio is going to die. I don't think that newspapers are going to die completely, but I do believe that they're going to have to find other ways to maintain their funding so they can stay out there.
Yes.
And I
yes.
think that social media is a great platform. It's a great platform for people such as yourselves. You're getting community news and information out there. You're doing it the right way. And some of the people that have been casualties of radio and television and newspapers, they're going to find a way to reinvent themselves, if not in those fields, then through social media. I don't think it's going to die.
Okay.
Get kind of bleak, but not die.
You're just a little bleak now. It's a little bleak now.
Right.
Yeah.
So where does satellite fit into it? Like
Satellite is huge, but to me, it's just like traditional broadcast because it's certain companies that own it. I mean, and I don't think that we as Black people factor into that as much as we should, just like every other media. But it's out there. If you can get your foot in the door, if you can get on, it's great. If you can stay on, it's great. But it's not the place to go for us. It's not like we can just leave what we're doing and go automatically to satellite, because that's a hill to climb as well.
It is. It is.
You know, a lot of times when they talk about the comparisons between Black owned and stations that have Black content, but it's not Black owned. And a lot of times that's good. And we always talk about Black owned because a lot of times you'll get a more detailed news story about a Black issue as opposed to a soundbite. How important is that to you? And coming from Norfolk State, you know, HBCU and everything coming out of there, you're going to get, you know, the content. And of course, if you're involved, you're going to get content that has been researched. You're not going to be telling lies, not on Norfolk State Station or any of the HBCU stations, I hope. But how important is that to support the Black content? And I'm not saying it's not, I mean, the Black owned, I'm not saying it's not good, non-Black owned that have Black content, like you mentioned, the series or something like that. They have, what's the
conglomerate is
they
buying up
have
everything.
Joe Madison and all those people
Yeah.
lined up on there, which is good, but it's not Black on. But they do have a certain amount of control. I guess some people listen to it because they can hear cuss words. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, they're happy with that. You're right. But you know, the Black owned, we have got to support the Black owned. And I make those students understand that what we have at Norfolk State is unique. Norfolk State is owned by the Board of Visitors. But what we have is unique because we pretty much, like I said, we can have the guests that we want to have on the morning. You know, we can have the guests that we want to have on our public affairs shows. You just can't find that anywhere. And I remember interviewing Dennis Kimbrough when I worked at another station a long time ago. And he looked at me, he said, this is very special because Black people just can't go anywhere and sit down and have a conversation, especially with other Black people in the media. It just doesn't happen. It's always been a slippery slope, and those stations were far and few between. And I've just been blessed that I've always been in that lane where I could do that, but I don't take it for granted. But we have to understand the power behind the Black owned stations. And I think people are appreciating it, especially now with what happened with former President Trump. I think people's eyes were open. If he did anything decent, I think he has taught us a little bit more about the Constitution.
Oh, yes.
You know, he's taught us a little bit more about how we should be more discerning about certain things. And so he has opened our eyes. That's the only good things I can say about him. But yeah, we teach the students, you know, this is a unique experience you have. Don't blow it. And if you, I mean, what did our parents tell us? You Black, you got to be doubly good, right?
Doubly good. That's right. That's right.
So that's what we continue to teach them.
So with Norfolk State Radio, monetarily, how are they staying afloat? I know the Board of Visitors own the station, but how, because I haven't heard any like fun, you know, usually sometimes on the Black radio, you hear these fundraisers, you know, we're raising money for the station, help us out, you know, but
That's right.
Yes.
Well, we do that twice a year. We have a membership drive. We just did one in October, so we'll do it again in the spring. But we are a public radio station. So we don't have commercials, we have underwriting.
Okay.
And the underwriting is not nearly as costly as commercials would be on other radio stations. And that's why people find us attractive. But, and the radio station is small. So all of that is handled by, we have people in other departments that handle all of that. So even if you become a sponsor tomorrow, whatever, the radio station doesn't directly handle that. It goes to the foundation. They're very organized. They've got social security numbers, because just like on a commercial station, we do give away prizes. So if you get a certain number of prizes, amount of prizes, you know, we have to report that to the IRS. That's what they say. So we're very organized about it, but it's not nearly the cost of a commercial radio station because we are a public radio station. Membership drive coming up in the spring.
In the spring, so be prepared
Yeah.
to support NSU
Yes.
radio in the spring. So let's get ready, people.
I know.
Yes.
Colonel.
And it reminds me, when I was back in the day when I was at Norfolk State and had gotten, was as a student and then came back, all the time. I always remember the jazz station over at Hampton Stations, and Norfolk State had its jazz stations.
Yes.
And wherever I went, we were on the road, and for whatever that area that it was broadcasting would be on that dial, trying to keep it in there until it actually went out. And so it brings back, as we talk about those good memories and how it kept us connected to the university through that medium. And I think we've lost some of that over time.
And that's right. That's what Black radio has done historically. It kept the community informed, whether it was public or whether it was commercial radio. That's what it has done. And, it's a fine line for us because we want to talk about the events that are going on campus, but we don't want to alienate the greater community. We want them to realize that we're giving them news and information and love as well. And just let me say that President Adams Gaston, she is the bomb.
She really is.
She is. She comes on Fridays when her schedule allows for it. She tells us about the partnerships that they have made within the community that we don't know about. She explains to us, she's on President Biden's group, this forum, to overall NCAA athletics. She's in so many different things, and she comes on and she tells us and she keeps us up to date when the whole COVID thing went down. Do you know Norfolk State had like the lowest rate of any college in the state? That's because when she was at Ohio State, she was put on a project where some of that came into play. So when it hit us, she was already ahead of the game. She's very smart. She has a great spirit, and she knows what she's doing out here in this community.
And very personable and very approachable.
The students come to her and hug her.
Some of our college presidents, I remember when I was there, at Norfolk State, you didn't run up to the president and try to talk to the president when you see the president out in public, but you see her, you can approach her, you can talk to her, and it's such a good, and I'm beginning to see that a lot with a lot of the HBCU presidents now, those who are coming on board now, because we had a Virginia Union's president on, we've had a Virginia State's president on. We need to get her on as well. But they're how approachable they are.
Yes,
it's great. Yes. And to see them in and about the community, making a difference. That's important as well.
I know during COVID, she and her husband would walk the campus every night and just speaking to the students. She would always remind them, put your mask on, no problems with that at all. But I was I've forgotten who came, Tamika Mallory came to campus. So I went to go see what she was talking about. The students come in, they are running to Dr. J to give her a hug. This is in the middle of COVID, okay? I was like, this is something else. So yeah, you're right. She's very personable.
Very much so.
And she understands how important that radio station is. And that's, I appreciate that.
Well,
talking about COVID though, we were talking earlier about how Democrats need to learn how to fight. And I listened to, I watched some of the House of Representative debates today, and there were debates over the Defense Authorization Act. And even though we're still at the tail end of COVID is still there, numbers are flaring. Because of politics, the Confederate Party or Republicans have gotten to say, put in the Defense Authorization Act that you can no longer, they want to take away the mandate for the vaccines, which is already an issue. So when I'm stacked in there with 60 other people on, on that plane or wherever I'm in and getting ready to go deploy, one COVID case infects all of us. But they don't care anymore. And,
didn't care in the height of it. They don't care now.
And that is one reason I wish that we would stand up and say just no. So I probably put something together. I'm gonna write to Secretary of Defense. So if they stick it on there, all you have to do is say, okay, Congress says I can't kick you out because of you don't take the vaccine. So yes, but I can flag you so you'll never be promoted again, which
Uh-huh.
they kick you out if you don't get these shots.
If you don't get the shots. And you see where Governor Youngkin is going to pay some businesses back if the businesses were fined for not following the COVID mandates, pay the businesses back.
I know.
Well,
And you know what businesses they will be.
Yes.
He was really a lion in sheep's clothing. He tried to portray himself as I'm this modern, this kinder and gentler Republican, but
Yes.
he's now showing his ugly face on a daily
Yes.
basis and
Yes.
decisions that he's making.
Yes.
Well, you know, I heard somebody say the only reason to run for governor in the state of Virginia is to up your platform, whether it be to run for the presidency or whatever. But that's the only reason why, since we have the one term.
Yes,
Well,
yes,
one-
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, we probably should. Well, I don't know. I agree. Say we probably should never change that, but maybe if they had more than one term, they could concentrate.
No.
on the city.
Yeah.
But
You
that
would
gives
do
them
it
just more
certain-
time to think.
Yes. Yeah.
But the thing is, if you get 2 terms, you might get a what is it? What's the governor, the Republican governor that put in the tolls? They bought that and then sold the contract to a place in Florida, and now you got another 49 years of tolls.
Yes.
Contract ever in this United States, and it's just graft. And so when you have a multi-millionaire like Glenn Youngkin running for state of governor, he's either one, getting ready for the presidency, make that run, or I'm in here to fatten my wallet, which he's already doing, because you look at the new Welcome to the Virginia advertising he has. It's one of his companies that gave him millions of dollars in his
Campaign.
election bid. And so he's spreading that state money, taxpayer money around, paying these guys. And
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. And something's wrong.
Yeah.
But we need to wake up and to go to the polls. And in his election, we fell for it and we didn't, and we stayed home. And I think
that whole thing, I never understood that. I never understood how we could just be so gullible as far as Terry McAuliffe was concerned. I mean, I understand he was a Democratic candidate, but I believe he was lacking as governor. And when those state troopers were killed on his watch, the whole Charlottesville thing on his watch, I'm like, why are we so easily falling down for that? And then, people say, well, I got 2 choices. Neither one of them is good. So I'm going to go with this one. But he got beaten seriously. And that goes back to the Republicans and being so strategic, and the Democrats just not being that way. Oh, he was the governor before. People love him. You'll get reelected easily. Who's
So
this
he's
guy?
going to slide right in.
Yeah.
And then there was an effort to taint the successor, who was the next person to run for governor, Fairfax, and then he had to go through all that. And then after that goes over, it turns out to be not too much. But it was after everything, all the campaigning was over. And now nobody ever stepped up, to
people should have known that I'm telling you right now, Mr. James Overton, if somebody assaults me, I want criminal charges then. I don't want to wait some years, 20 years later, and some civil charges and all of that. No, we're going criminal right now. Those women never went with criminal charges.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So that was our first indication that something is wrong with this mess right here.
And we didn't see that.
We didn't see it.
We let that taint his possibility to have a good campaign, and he probably would have beat Youngkin if
that man stood up in the Senate. He refused to bow down for the Jackson Lee Day and all of that.
Jackson Day, yes.
He was a strong person, and we did not support him.
Exactly.
We let him down.
And Cheryl, we have a history of doing that. We have a history of throwing our own under the bus.
Correct.
We let others tell us about our own. And instead of us doing, like you say, you do your research. Instead of us doing our research, we take what they give us and we
Yes.
throw our own quickly up under the bus. But if one of them did the same thing, we come with open arms receiving them. We don't do anything about it.
We don't do anything. We're so kind. We're so loving.
Yes.
We forgive people at the drop of a dime. I'm not saying don't do that, but how are you going to throw this man under the bus? He's a former federal prosecutor. What do you know about him? Why didn't these women come 20 years ago? Like I said, why didn't they file criminal charges immediately? Just use common sense.
Exactly.
Well, we don't use it, but it goes back to saying, one, we play fair. Justin tried to play fair. He tried to go above board, but that is no time to do it because you're in election season. You're supposed to go nuclear. You know, you're supposed to say, okay, I got my campaign money. I got these millions of dollars, whatever, and investigate them and call them out and countersue them and call them out. If they walk outside, I got somebody following you. You've got to get dirt on them and find out what's going on, who's behind it. And then
because they went nuclear when they realized that he would have been governor for 6-7 years. I've forgotten how many years that Northam had left on his governorship. But when Northam, on that February day, when he said, I'm sorry, I'm gonna resign, all of this, and then they add up how many years that Justin Fairfax could seriously be in office.
Right. You know they were coming for him. You know they were coming for him. That's right.
Oh no, you're not gonna resign, Northam. No, you're not. Now he stayed in office the rest of the time trying to make good, makeup and everything. But they say that the mayor of Richmond was behind that with McCullough.
Oh wow! Don't mess my heart up.
And I asked Justin Fairfax, I said, what is it about? Because there is something definite between LeVar Stoney, mayor of Richmond, and Justin Fairfax. And I asked Justin Fairfax, what is it? He said, I seriously do not know. He says, I have never done anything to that man.
But you know how sometimes we can be. We see someone up here and we're here and we don't want them to be there because I'm supposed to be the top dog in this state. I'm the top person, and I'm going to move you out of the way. I'm going to move you out. And I'm going to tell you the next fight. So we lost Donald McEachin. Yes.
I hear LeVar Stoney's name being put in the bag. I hear Representative Lamont Bagby's name. It's about 5 or 6 names that I hear in Richmond, around Richmond, that are vying for that seat. But that's going to be another dogfight, and we're going to see what happens.
Exactly.
Well, I have a question about that though. Why did he stay? He just got reelected, knowing he was on at the end. Why did he rerun? Why did he run again when you don't have so much time?
Colonel, people don't know when to give up the ghost.
Yeah,
they don't. And is there something going on behind the scenes that we didn't know about? Okay,
thank you.
We need you to run this race and win this race, and then that's going to give us, time to do da. We don't know. Politics is so.
It's a safe seat. He won by 30 points.
Yes.
And anybody the Democrats put out there is going to win without, put a few flyers out. And if they can put 3 words together, which is more than Herschel could put together. I'm saying 3, they would win.
But but what Cheryl is saying is so true, because I know of another incident, and when an individual really wasn't ready to run for office again because they were kind of declining. And I know others had propped this individual up to have this person to believe, we need you, you need to run, And it wasn't the fact that that person could be the person is of value to them because they can get the person to do whatever they wanted them to do, but the person is doing a disservice to themselves. And that which meant that the person would have gone out under a bad note as opposed to walking out in dignity. But
it's politics.
It's terrible. It's awful.
I could never get in it.
Walker. Just described him. He should have ran.
Yeah.
He wasn't the first one, Dr. Ben Carson,
Oh goodness, don't leave Ben out. Ben should have stayed a surgeon. He lost all the credibility he had.
All the medical abilities he had, he was exposed. Outside of that medical realm, he was exposed. As similar to Herschel Walker, you know.
But that's when
He
you
was
have
just
other-
outside of his field. Now,
Yeah.
anything in medicine, you could depend on him. You let him go in your brain and all that stuff. But, you know,
That's true.
to take him and put him in that situation was just like the Herschel Walker
It
situation.
was.
Let's get us somebody that's
He
going to
was the
shuffle
precursor.
for
He
us.
was the
And, you know,
precursor to Herschel.
and,
He really
and
was.
people lost respect for his medical abilities because of the way he showed on the national scene in politics.
I
Exactly.
just read an
Which is
article
unfortunate.
recently about the former Surgeon General, Jerome Adams, I think is
Yes.
his name,
Yes.
Yeah.
and how he can't get a job because
Now
he
he
is
can't.
now forever associated with Donald Trump.
Thank you.
Mhm.
But you know, but Cheryl, the amazing thing is that how people cannot see that aligning yourself with Donald Trump is the kiss of death. Everyone falls to the wayside except Donald Trump. Everybody who's aligned themselves with him, they've all fallen to dust.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
He's still
seeing that
standing.
now, but he's already
But
killed a lot of
prayerfully,
careers.
his day has arrived.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's killed a lot
Prayerfully,
of
his day
careers
has
already.
arrived.
But Cheryl, before we run out of time, and I want
Is
to
it
take you
that
back,
time
because
already? We just
yeah,
started talking.
yeah, well, we have to have her back because we haven't even
That's
talked
what
about
happens when
Portsmouth. We haven't talked about Portsmouth yet. But anyway, I want to take you back, and before we run out of time, I always like to people, viewers, to get to know the person that we have on here. So before you got to Norfolk State and you came to Norfolk State and you majored in mass communication, was that something that you were looking at while you were in high school? Were you involved in the journalism club or something like that in high school? And it was just a natural progression for you to, you know, at the next level to continue that.
No, I wasn't involved with it in high school. I thought I was running the high school. I was always up in the office with Dr. Leatherberry. He was the assistant principal. Okay?
Which high school was that?
Hermitage High School.
Hermitage, okay.
Hermitage, yeah, I'm a Panther, but just growing
what?
up,
Panther.
A Panther.
Panther.
Okay, all right.
Okay. So growing up, you know, it was very organized because, like I said, my mom was a teacher, dad was a letter carrier. So my mom went and taught these students all day, and then she came home to 4 children. So I guess she had to have some rules and schedules and all of that. So we always had the news on for dinner time. We always knew what was going on in the world. The news was always there. And I remember getting this tape recorder. I don't know how old I was, but I got this tape recorder. It was a small reel-to-reel tape recorder. I would take that tape recorder everywhere because it's just in me. You got to know what's going on in the world. You got to tell the people that, like I said, there's food being given out tomorrow at Church Street. You know, it's just in me. And I think it just came from the way Mom and Dad raised us.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, that was your cell phone of the day, just
That
keeping
was
track of
my
everything.
You are correct. Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
So
I love
Cheryl, once again, for those individuals who may have a need, such as the IC Norcom Alumni Association, Roderick Hawthorne, to go on Cheryl Wilkerson's show, how can he get in touch with you, Cheryl?
Yes, if he would just email me, it's cwwilkerson@nsu.edu. cwwilkerson@nsu.edu. Yeah, and so it's just me. I remember I used to work at another station back in the day, and I had these ladies, God bless them, and they would help me with the correspondence that was coming in and all of that. I don't have all of that now, so it takes me a while, but I do try to get to everybody.
Yes,
Mhm.
I'm putting it out there, Cheryl, because IC Norcom is getting ready to celebrate their 110th year
Yeah.
anniversary. And so I'm letting my publicity committee know that we need to, because we got a bond with NSU, so they need to plan to come on to share the information on your show as well.
You know, I love how Black high schools, what are the words? How Black high schools stay bonded to one another after graduation.
Mhm.
We see that with the HBCUs, but we also see that on the high school level. And I like that. I was talking to somebody and we were talking about it on the HBC level. And they were talking about, you know, at PWIs, you join a sorority, you're in the sorority after graduation. That's the end of the
That's it.
sorority.
That's it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But not with their HBCUs. It's for life. Okay.
Mhm.
It's for life. And I just love that about us.
That's right.
Yeah, and we had high school sororities and frats that we still salute each other. Well, mine was the Imperials, and we salute each other by saying "Acai" when we
There
see,
you go.
that connection, and it just carried on into the next level. But
Mhm.
yeah, you're right, the black high schools, and most of the time, and we're trying to make sure the younger people know that history, because I think the reason we stayed connected, we knew the history. A lot of us lived that history, and so we have a resurgence of trying to make sure the young people coming up now, because we saw a lack of that
Yes,
for a few years, where they didn't care, they didn't know. I said, look, you got to know your rich history. If you know your rich history, you're going to be just like us. They said, man, y'all always talking about the Greyhounds. Well, it's something that's sort of embedded in you. The education we got and the connections we made with people that we still have with.
exactly, exactly.
Some of the students at Norfolk State. So if Maynard and I are in the studio and we're talking about something, and the young people, they might disagree or they might see it from a different way. And they'll say something to the effect that y'all old people always, they won't say it like that, but that's
Some
what
of
it's
them will say it
implied.
like that.
You old people. And I just look at them and I say, y'all just keep living.
How about
Just
that?
keep
How
living.
about
That's
that?
what my
That's for
grandma
sure.
used to say, and it's true. Just keep
Uh-huh.
living.
Keep living, you'll look just like this.
And you'll talk just like this too.
Yes,
Exactly,
indeed you
exactly.
will. Indeed you will.
Yeah.
But anyway, we wind down. We usually, this is the time our hosts have their closing statements, and then we have the last. Our guest has the last words. I like to say this at first. Cheryl, we've been connected for a while through Facebook, and I remember when I first was going to do the radio, I asked her how she felt about it, and one of the things she told me, said, well, what you have to do is establish a voice. And I didn't know if that was, she was telling me a physical voice, like the guys, oh, this is WGPL. If she was telling me to establish something like that, and I tried that. I thought, this is James Overton, Slim Nation. And I said, well, that's not me. I'm going to train for that. They have to take what comes out. Or if she was saying establish, a voice as far as making sure people want to hear what you have to say. And I just took it all in what you said at that time, Cheryl. And I would see you from time to time, sometime at Grove Baptist. And, and unfortunately, sometime at the funeral. But we always kept that kind of connection. And that's why I'm so glad to have you to come on, or to agree to come on and be with us with your busy schedule and what you're doing now. And we really appreciate it.
You all are doing a great job. And I'm telling you, I'm not just saying that because I'm supposed to say that. I'm on here, I'm supposed to say that. You all are doing a great job. And I think other people on social media could take a class from you all about how to do it the right way.
Thank you.
That's what I think.
Thank you. That helps a lot.
Mhm.
Right.
Well, Cheryl, I'm saying I am still excited that you're on.
You just as
And-
cute.
And James pulled me into this venue a little over a year ago. And I wasn't sure at first, but I've been enjoying what we've been doing. I've been enjoying meeting the individuals that we bring on to the show, and learning in the process. And so, like I said, I've listened to you, and I know what you bring to the table, and I'm learning from you as I listen to you. And I made that faux pas at the beginning, but I was so
You're
excited about seeing
are
it that I was taking it someplace else. But I just want to say thank you so very much, and thank you for all that you've done for our community and keeping our community informed. And we really have to keep them informed, because they get so much stuff coming at them constantly. They read so many things on social media that's not true, and they end up believing it. So it's up to us to try the best that we can to share the real information with them. And so
well, you are sharing the real, because you're
Yes.
going out in the community. So you come back with the true information and you are sharing it.
Yes.
So you are definitely doing your part.
Thank you so very much. But I love you, and I'm just thankful, from behold that green and gold,
That's
what can
right.
I say? What can I say? But once again, thank you so
Thank
very
you.
much for
And,
all that you do and all that you have done. for the
And a lot of
community.
times we go to the source. So we go to the source at Norfolk State a lot with Dr. Fairfax and Dr. Ernestine Duncan.
Yes.
You know, when we're
Yes.
talking about mental health, we go to the people
Yes,
that know about mental
yes,
health.
Mhm.
We go
yes.
to talk about history, we go to Dr. Fairfax, who was an expert in that. So we try to bring people on, and it was a coup to get John Carlos on our show.
Oh
Uh,
my.
The guy, yeah. And you know, so we hopefully continue to bring you guests like that will tell you the real story. That
Exactly.
will give you the
And
real
that's how
truth.
you all know that you all are doing a great job, because you're getting some caliber guests on here, and that's proof positive that you are doing what you're supposed to do for this community.
Yes.
Thank you so very much.
Yes.
And they're actually asking to come on now. That's a blessing right there. You
That's
know,
Do they come up to you and say, I need to be on your show?
yes, they do. Yeah. What date do you have available? What date do you have available? So, and that's why we had to go not only with the morning show, but we had to come to the evening show because of people's work schedules. A lot of times they can't make that 6
Right.
a.m. in the morning. And so the evening show gives them the opportunity to come on and share their information. So
That's right.
it's
That's
good.
good.
It's a good thing. Colonel?
Yeah, so now that we're on Black media and everything, and getting ready to transition to football game that's on, I have to put this shameless plug in
And it's
there.
not that it's not Dallas.
No, it's not Dallas today.
I think
I'm gonna
Cheryl
do a
likes
shameless
Dallas
plug.
as well.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
as the folks out there in electron land, as I call it, is that we love what we do, but we also need your help to continue putting on this program. And if you'd like to send an honorarium or a donation, you can send it to Portsmouth Coffee Talks, P.O. Box 7664, Portsmouth, Virginia 23707. And any help would be
I want you to say that again.
Portsmouth Coffee Talk, P.O. Box 7664, Portsmouth, Virginia 23707.
People need to heed that,
Yeah.
because you all are doing an outstanding job, and you don't
Thank
have to. You're giving up your time, and that's not, you can't get back the time. And you all are
Exactly.
doing the research. You're finding out really what's going on in the community. People need to support.
Yes, and you're only going to hear it here. That's what we talk about the state-run TV and Twitter and how and the other side, and we just tell it like it is. And so, but now that I've given that shameless plug, I'd like to thank you for coming on, and thank you for educating the next generation of students that are out there and citizens of the Commonwealth in our country, and just keep doing what you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I call them my babies. At first they didn't like it, but now they let me call them my babies. They're
Yeah.
my
Sounds like
babies.
Leah. Everybody's her babies.
Yes, they're all my babies. All my
Yes.
babies.
Yes.
But,
James, I have someone wants, they would like to have the Cash App.
Oh, the Cash App is $CT CT
No.
Coffee
No,
Talk.
no.
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 It's
P.
$PCT
PCT.
1220 $PCT 1220. And we have Zelle. If you go that way, it's Portsmouth Coffee Talk @yahoo.com. And real quick before you make your last statement, Cheryl, and let you go for the evening, I just want to give you a lineup of future guests. Next Monday, going to have Isaiah Mariner. He's the son of Dr. Mariner, and he's a teacher at Churchland High School. And
Doing
we're going
great
to talk
things.
about the effects of male teachers in our schools today. And then next Thursday, Cletus Cassidy is coming back on, a popular
Oh,
guest on
yeah.
our show. And no telling what he's going to talk about. So we're going to just let him go for it.
And he just
And
got another job. You heard that?
Yeah.
You read that?
How
He
about
just
it?
got another job there.
Yeah,
Huh?
he's still racking them up. And the 19th, Delegate Don Scott, and I want you to make sure that's the morning show. Please come on and watch that, because we always talk about knowing what's happening when that General Assembly session opens up, because things are going on now, and things go on all year. You need to be in touch with your state delegates, because once they get in there, they're starting to vote on things and things like that. So watch that show so he'll give you a heads up of what to look for, especially in a Republican-run state. And on the 22nd, we'll have Dr. Ernestine Duncan. She is, we have given her the title of our guest host. So she comes on
She's
quite a
good.
bit. So we're going to talk
Very
about mental
good.
health and the holidays. You know, a lot of people are festive, but a lot of people go through some changes during the holidays. So she's going to come up and talk about that. And so I think we're going to end up with attorney. Who's that?
Christian Hawthorne.
Kristen
One of the
Hawthorne.
larger law firms in the nation. She's out of California. She's coming on. So we're looking forward to having her on as well.
So please stay tuned for all the shows for the rest of the month here in December on Portsmouth Coffee Talks morning show and evening edition show. Thank you. Cheryl, if you have any last comments, and again, we thank you.
No, I don't. I just want to thank the three of you all for coming on. I was a little bit hesitant because I don't like talking about Cheryl, but you all did me well. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you we appreciate you. And Portsmouth Coffee Talk is here for our voice,
Our community.
In our future.
and thank you.
Salute
And
you.
we salute you.
We salute you, Cheryl. Great
Thank you
job.
so much. Love you all.
Love you too.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you all Monday.
See you Monday morning, everyone.
And listen to WNSB 91, Hot 91.
It's on YouTube. So
Okay.
it's there.